Dear students, welcome back. In the previous session, we have discussed about deviations from optimal alignment, anterior and posterior views. So, here in this session, we are going to discuss about another segment of the body, that is vertebral column, and deviations in the vertebral column. On the posterior aspect, we can see one condition is called as scoliosis. Okay, here in this we will see this scoliosis in detail. So another segment of the body that requires special consideration when evaluating posture from the anterior or posterior views is the vertebral column. Normally, when viewed from the posterior aspect, the vertebral column is vertically aligned. Okay, so like this. So if you see in an X-ray also, okay, if you see in the X-ray also, in the normal X-ray, the vertebral column appears in a straight line. Okay, and this one is bisected by the line of gravity. The gravity line falls through the midline of the occiput, and then through the spinous processes of all the vertebrae. Okay, and directly through the gluteal cleft. So this is the gluteal cleft. So it has to fall. Okay, that is the gravity line falls through on the posterior view. Okay, in an optimal posture, the vertebral structures, ligaments and muscles are able to maintain the column in vertical alignment. If one or more supporting structures, so if any one of the structures, that is either it may be ligaments, muscles, are going to fail to provide adequate support, the column will bend to the side. So the column is going to bend towards the side. Here in the X-ray you can find the column is bending towards one side. Okay, yes, and the lateral bending will be accompanied by rotation of the vertebrae, because lateral flexion without rotation does not occur. So that is the main reason. So the lateral bending will be accompanied by rotation of vertebra, because lateral flexion without rotation does not occur below the level of second cervical vertebra. Okay. So the consistent lateral deviations of a series of vertebra from the LOG in one or more regions of the spine may indicate the presence of a lateral spine curvature, which is called as scoliosis. Again, there is a consistent lateral deviations of series of vertebrae from the LOG in one or more regions of the spine may indicate the presence of lateral spine curvature called as scoliosis. There are different types of scoliosis, but the adolescent idiopathic type makes 80% of all the scoliosis. Okay. Idiopathic scoliotic curves are defined as structural curves. Okay, these curves involve changes in the vertebral bodies, transverse and spinous processes, intervertebral disc, ligaments and muscles. So, in the structural curves, there we can see the changes involving in the changes in vertebral bodies. We can see in the changes in the vertebral bodies, and then we can see changes in the transverse processes. We can see changes in the transverse processes, and also we can see changes in the spinous processes. Okay. So all these and also we can see the changes in the intervertebral discs. Okay, and we can say changes in the ligaments and muscles. So what are the ligaments? Anterior longitudinal ligament, posterior longitudinal ligament, supraspinous ligament, like number of ligaments which are associated with that of the vertebral column. In that also we can see some changes, and also the ligaments and muscles which are related to that particular area of deviation. And another one is the non-structural curves, are called as functional curves, in that they can be reversed. These non-structural curves called as functional curves, which can be reversed if the cause of the curve is corrected. Normally these curves are the result of the correctable imbalances such as leg length discrepancy or muscle spasm. So some people will have different limb lengths. Then what happens here? So there may be change in the curvature of the vertebral column. Okay, so for that what should we have to done? So if the limb length can be maintained in an equal level by changing any shoes, leveling of the shoes, like that, then again the curvature of the vertebral column can be maintained. Otherwise it causes some deviation in the vertebral column. Okay. And then the curves in the scoliosis. How can you name the scoliosis if the curves are multiple? So if you can see only one single type of curve, then you can easily identify the curvature is towards right side or left side. If there is an two more curves, if you can see on the back of the vertebral column, then how can you name them? How can you take this scoliosis? Which one is the first one which causes the compensatory curvature? How can you identify this thing? Yes, here the naming of the scoliosis is based on according to the direction of the convexity and location of the curve. So direction of the convexity and the location of the curve, where it is located. So direction means whether the convexity is on the right side or left side, and location whether it may be cervical, thoracic, lumbar. So based upon these things we can give the name of the scoliosis. Okay, so for example, if you can see, this is the curvature we can see on the, this is an x-ray. So for example, this is the epi view. So this is on the right side curvature. So because the convexity is on the right side. Okay, and it which is located in which region? Thoracic region. So this scoliosis is right thoracic scoliosis. Okay, so if more than one region of the vertebral column is involved, if more than one region of the vertebral column is involved, then how can you name them? So we have to consider the superior segment as first, and the next one is the next curve you have to take in the second side. So for example, this is the right curvature which is also causing some lateral bending in the lumbar region. So we have to name this scoliosis as right thoracic and left lumbar. Okay, so we have to mention like this, we have to give names for this scoliosis. Okay, the effects of unequal torques on the structures of the body are dramatically seen in adolescent idiopathic scoliosis. So the following example here depicts a hypothetical series of events. So the first step in the process is unknown because researchers have been unable to identify the supporting structure involved in the initial failure or the cause of the failure. Okay. And these investigators have postulated that adolescent idiopathic scoliosis may result from the dysfunction in the vestibular system, a disturbance in control of the muscle spindle, a primary defect in the collagen of the annulus fibrosus, and subcortical brainstem abnormalities. Okay, some studies have found that differences in postural sway in 100 children aged 10 to 14 years, and 35 of the children were siblings of that scoliotic patients, and 65 were the control subjects. Okay, these are the studies related to the scoliosis. And now we will see what are the possible sequence of events for adolescent idiopathic scoliosis. Okay, so failure in the supporting and the control system, that is the first thing. And we can see the lateral flexion moment. Here we can find, this is the lateral flexion moment we can find. And deviation of the vertebrae with rotation we can see. So here we can see what is this condition. This one is again right thoracic type of curvature, isn't it? Right thoracic curvature. So it is causing lateral flexion on the opposite aspect, that is on the left side. And if you see in the X-ray, we can see the deviation of vertebrae with rotation and compression of vertebral bodies. So on which side the compression of the vertebral body is going to take place? So on the side of concavity, the vertebral bodies are going to compress. And inhibition of the growth of the vertebral body on the side of the concavity of the curve. Because on the concavity, there is an inhibition of growth we can see. And wedging of the vertebrae. So we can see like this, wedging of the vertebrae we can see in the scoliotic type. And head out of line with sacrum. So here unequal waist angles we can see because of this head out of line with sacrum. And a compensatory curve we can see on the lumbar region. So this is the compensatory curve. And adaptive shortening of trunk musculature on the concavity. So on the convexity, the muscles are going to lengthen. On the concavity, the muscles are going to shorten. And stretching of the muscles and ligaments and joint capsules on the convexity, and these are going to be shortened on the concavity side. Okay. So these are the structural changes which may progress to produce a severe deformity unless intervention should be taken at appropriate time. Deformities can interfere with breathing and other internal organs as well as being cosmetically unacceptable, such kind of posture. Okay. So, and if the curvature is recognized early in its development, then measures may be instituted either to correct the curve or to prevent its increase. Okay. Next, the vertebral deviations in scoliosis cause asymmetric changes in body structure. Several of these changes may be detected through simple observation of body contours, like typical screening programs usually designed for identification of the following features. One is the unequal waist angles, okay, unequal shoulder levels, and unequal scapulae, and we can see the rib hump. So we can see the rib hump. So because of we can see uneven waist angles or difference in arm or body in A peak. In B, you can find a rib hump during forward flexion. So this one is right thoracic, isn't it? So we can find right side rib hump when the person attempts forward trunk flexion. So these are the investigations we can find due to the asymmetric changes in the body structures in the vertebral column. So this is all about the scoliosis. In the next session we will discuss about the effects of age and gender which is related to the posture. Thank you.